Hello, good evening, good afternoon. This is Aurelio Porfiri speaking, and this is our Cantus podcast. Today, we want to talk about liturgy, especially, and we want to talk about recent events in traditional liturgy, what people call traditionalism, and I want to talk with a special guest that is Bishop Athanasius Schneider. As you may know, Bishop Athanasius Schneider, with myself, we recently published a book called The Catholic Mass that is available everywhere in United States and in English-speaking countries, and is a book where the bishop talk about the ways to restore the centrality of God in the liturgy. So thank you, Bishop Schneider, for your participation.
You're welcome.
So I want to speak with Bishop Schneider to what is happening in recent weeks. So we saw that on February 4, the Pope received the Superior of the Fraternity of St. Pius X, and on February the 8th, the Pope received some responsible of the Fraternity of Saint Peter. And in this last meeting that we know more, the Pope also released a document where he confirmed the prerogatives of the liturgical prerogatives of the Fraternity of Saint Pius of Saint Peter. So it means the celebration of the traditional mass. You may remember also that there was an article by the prior of the Fraternity of Saint Vincent Ferrer, that is the Dominican fraternity, where he said basically was what the Pope has said with this document, so that these people they enter in these institutes, they enter because of that liturgy. So they cannot, ask to change what is one of the main feature of their vocation. But some people are confused. So why on one side with Traditionis Custodes and Dubbia, it seems there are more and more restrictions, and more restrictions are coming, and on the other side, the Pope seems benevolent with the same people that seems to be affected by Traditionis Custodes. So how you reconcile all of this confusion?
Yes, I think that we have to consider the reality. So, vis traditiones custodes, and then the answers to the dubia of the congregation of worship, divine worship, there was created in a short time an accelerated hostility from on the part of so many bishops against the traditional liturgy. And so, in such gesture of positive of Pope Francis, it really appears a light in this darkness of persecution and marginalization of the traditional Catholic liturgy. Therefore, I think we have to be happy and grateful that the Pope issued such a decree saying that all the ex-ecclesia communities can continue as they did, using all the liturgical books of the previous or of the older Roman Rite. So this is an effect which I think with every small step which will restate and strengthen the traditional liturgy, we have to be glad and thankful.
But what do you think? What do you say at the people that feel confused?
Yes, I repeat the same. In a great confusion, we should be happy with a small step in the right direction. This is a small step, but at least it is. It could be worse. that, let us say, the Pope would not say this and not give this decree, and say, okay, you have to, let us say, only the Holy Mass, and you have to receive the ordinations in the new rite, and you have to celebrate in your communities regularly the new Mass, and so on. But it did not came. There were fears that it could. And therefore, I think we have to be content and grateful for this small step already.
But as I mentioned, in very few days, the Pope received two important reality of the traditional Catholic world. One is the St. Pius X fraternity, the other is the St. Peter fraternity. They have a different situation, of course. The St. Pius X have a juridical situation that is not yet completely resolved. So, according to your opinion, how what was the meaning of the meeting with the St. Pius X fraternity? Because we know about the one of the February 8th with the St. Peter fraternity, that there was a statement, and then there is this document. But with the St. Pius X, at least I don't know so much, because they say that there will be a statement, a press release from the American branch of the fraternity. But as far as I know, and I may be mistaken, there was none at the moment. So, how do you interpret this kind of meeting?
We know that Pope Francis showed several times already positive gestures and attitudes towards the Society of Pius X, and he gave them two substantial faculties which are very important for the pastoral life. It is the faculties of Holy Confession, which are valid all over the world, and then also the possibility to assist canonically the marriages. And this is already a step in the direction to a fuller canonical regularization of the Society of Pius X. So, but I think that the Pope thinks to approach them to a fuller and correct regularization by steps. So this, and I hope that there will come other steps. I suggested to the Holy Father and to the Holy See that they should give the next step to give to all the priests of the Society of Pius X, of course with the previous approval of their superior general, to all the priests approved by their superior, the faculties to celebrate legitimately the Holy Mass, also the Holy Mass. So it would be very important for pastoral life, and that people can go without any remorse of conscience to a Mass celebrated by a priest of the Society of Pius X, if the Pope would grant them also these faculties for the Holy Mass, let us say. This would be a very substantial step towards a closer approach and achievement of the canonical regularization.
What I am curious is, what is your opinion about the fact that even if the Pope seems to have some kind of kindness gestures with the fraternity of St. Peter, but most of the bishops seems, as you say at the beginning, hostile to the celebration of the traditional mass. So you are a bishop, and how you make sense of this kind of attitude from other bishops that are not a little number, because I mean, if they were a little number, this was not a problem. But we know that there are many bishops that uh, they fear like the traditional Catholic mass. So how is possible to reconcile the gesture of the Pope with the attitude of most of the bishops?
Well, no, the gesture of the Pope was now concretely only towards the fraternity of St. Peter and the ex ecclesia Dei communities. And it remains, and so the bishops can say, okay, it is only meant by the Pope for these ex ecclesia Dei communities and not for the diocesan communities of the Old Mass, which exists. There are in several dioceses parishes and which the bishop entrusted not to the Ecclesia Dei communities, but to the diocesan clergy. And then also the fact that ever more seminarians and young priests all over the world, it's a real movement, desire earnestly, seriously to celebrate the traditional Mass. And this, in some way, scared these bishops, and therefore they now start to react very hostile.
By Your Excellency, they are scared of what?
Exactly, this is we have to ask them of what you are scared, and when they would say we are scared because of the growth of the rigidity, as they call this Mass, and of the rejection of Vatican II. But this response, I assume, would come at first. But ultimately, these two arguments are a pretext, because they know that these young people, they have nothing against Vatican II, usually. And that these young people are surely not rigid in some way. They are normal people, joyful, cheerful.
Or at least not all of them. I mean, there are some that are rigid, as there are progressive that are rigid. I mean,
rigid people are in every possibility.
Exactly.
This is a category where you cannot only to
eliminate, of course.
Stigmatize to one group. Well, and then they have to admit if they are serious and authentic, they have to admit that their hostility is based on their hatred of tradition itself, of what the church believed, what the church celebrated before the council. So they want to make a break, a rupture, total. And this, if they are really serious and sincere, they should say this. Yes, this is the reason. We want nothing to do with what the church celebrated and lived in liturgy and spirituality before the council. And this is a rupture. And this they have to say, but they would probably not say this, and they use other arguments.
I want to ask you something. When we speak about traditional Catholics, we usually speak about the ex Ecclesia Dei communities, or we speak about the fraternity of St. Pius X. But we know that especially in the Anglo-Saxon countries, there are very strong communities that also they want to be Catholic, and they are usually under a bishop that was ordained illegitimately but validly, and they are called in various names, but usually sede vacantist or sede privationist, or in other ways. So how for you or the Holy See should face this reality, because these people are not small groups. I mean, in certain areas they are quite consistent, and they want only to remain Catholics according to what the Church has always taught.
Yes, I think that the Holy See has also the pastoral duty to approach these faithful, because they want only to be Catholics, but because of the historical circumstances of the crisis of the Church, which emerged with the Second Vatican Council and the post-conciliar um, pontificates, they decided to be autonomous or to declare the papacy vacant. So therefore, sede vacantis, but they do not deny any dogma of faith directly. So they do not deny the dogma of primacy of the Pope. They only say that now the chair of Peter is vacant. So they are awaiting to a so-called their Catholic Pope. So in this case, I think a just judge also has always to take into account the mitigating circumstances. So, and I think that the sede vacantis people, you can apply to them because they did not choose this attitude simply because they wanted this, but because of the circumstances of the crisis of the Church, a crisis to which also, to a great part, were responsible authorities of the Holy See also. They contributed to this crisis. And therefore, I think that so the Holy See is, in the last decades, very much engaged in ecumenical dialogue with the Orthodox churches or old Oriental churches, very generous to them with their talks and so on. But the sede vacantis, they are closer to us than the Orthodox, because the Orthodox, they deny formally a divine revealed truth, which is the primacy of the Pope,
Right.
which the sede vacantis do not deny. So they are even closer to us, and therefore I think we have to make an effort to approach them. But practically, I think it would be only possible when in Rome, the divine providence will grant us again strong, courageous, and beyond any doubt, strong Orthodox popes who proclaim and promote the complete integrity of the Catholic faith, liturgy, and morals. Then I think there could come an approach to these realities of the sede vacantis.
And my last question is this. You mentioned the Orthodox in your last answer. While we are speaking, there is this tremendous conflict between Ukraine and Russia. So you know that many Catholics that are disappointed by the situation of the Church, they find refuge in the Orthodox Church because they see the Orthodox Church to be more faithful to her tradition and uses and the liturgical reverence. So what you would say to these people that decide to leave the Catholic Church and to become Orthodox?
I would say to these people that you are very wrong because you deny your baptismal vows. because in your baptism you promised to keep the integrity of the Catholic faith. And when you will become Orthodox, you have to deny a divine revealed truth. So a truth which God revealed us and commanded us to believe. That is to say that the primacy of Peter and his successors, the papal primacy is a revealed truth of God. And when you are not, when you become officially Orthodox, you have to deny this truth, even formally. And this is very serious. You are damaging your faith. You are contrary to the will of God, to the revelation. In this point, I mean. And this is not need that you have to go to the Orthodox Church. At least you can go to the Society of Pius X, where is the integrity of faith, the liturgy. And furthermore, the Orthodox Church, they have also some other errors, serious errors, which you have to consider. For example, they allow divorce. Even they can make a third time, second time, third time in this case, and they have no clear teaching on, as the Catholic Church, about contraception, for example, in conjugal life. They are here more undetermined, ambiguous, and oftentimes every bishop and priest handles this case in another way. So there is no unity of teaching. For example, according to as Paul VI gave in Humane Vitae, let us say. And then the remarriages of divorced people, they are very liberal in this sense in the Orthodox Church. And this is serious also. We have to be very realist and open our eyes.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your thoughts and your participation to our podcast. I want to remind our listeners that if they want to join our newsletter, where there are many articles and podcasts and other material, they can go and join to cantus.substack.com, where they can choose the plan of their subscription. There are full subscription, there is a free subscription, so they can decide at the moment. So for the moment, I want to thank Bishop Schneider for his participation in this podcast, and I want to thank all our listeners, and I hope to have you all in the next podcast. Thank you very much, and bye bye.